Under a heavy, humid sky, the night carried the scent of wet earth mixed with a tang of gasoline drifting from a nearby truck stop. A lonely highway stretched before her like a dark ribbon, lit only by a wavering streetlight. Aisha Collins, a lean 32-year-old with piercing eyes and a sturdy frame, strolled alone on the deserted road. Her boots crunched softly on the gravel as she made her way home after a long session at her private gym. Unbeknownst to her, danger lurked in the murk behind, a threat hidden in plain sight. What if the night hides more than just shadows? Not far behind, 3 figures slithered through the darkness as if driven by hunger. These were no common thugs. They had broken free from a high-security federal prison barely 20 miles away. Their leader, a hefty man named Travis Cole, bore the scars of a life spent behind bars for armed robbery and attempted murder. With him were Jimmy and Earl, 2 men whose arrest records read longer than any shopping list. In hushed tones, Travis grinned, "Look at that lone woman. Perfect target." Earl snickered, adding, "We grab her bag, maybe even her car, and vanish before the sun peeks out." And Jimmy, licking his dry lips, agreed, "And if she yells, we handle her quick." Could they really believe a single woman in the night would be so easy to take? But they had no clue who she truly was. Aisha was far from ordinary. She was one of the best trained operatives, a Navy SEAL whose skills had been honed in countless battles. She had defused bombs, faced foes twice her size, and emerged undefeated every time. As the would-be attackers crept closer, her instincts flared like warning beacons. She sensed them before their eyes ever met hers. Her heart slowed, her muscles tightened, and every sense came alive. Was it mere fate, or something more powerful at work? In the blink of an eye, when Travis lunged for her shoulder, Aisha reacted like a flash. With smooth precision, she twisted his wrist so forcefully that a sharp crack split the air, and he fell to one knee, pain etched on his face. Earl's eyes widened in shock, frozen for a heartbeat. Without missing a beat, Aisha drove a fierce elbow into Travis's jaw, sending him sprawling onto the cold pavement. Jimmy, brandishing a rusty pocket knife, swung wildly, only to be dodged. She seized his arm and slammed him against a nearby tree, the sickening sound of cracking ribs filling the night. When Earl tried to flee, she chased him with the speed of a panther. In moments, she tackled him to the ground and locked him in a tight choke hold until he could only gasp, Who are you?" in a trembling voice. Leaning in close, she replied steadily, "The biggest mistake you ever made." One by one, all 3 lay groaning on the roadside, a silent warning written in their pain. Would anyone dare to challenge her again? Taking a steady breath, Aisha pulled out her phone and dialed emergency services. "This is Collins," she said calmly. "I have 3 escaped convicts under control on Route 17 near the old gas station. Send help immediately." The dispatcher's voice crackled with disbelief. "Did you say under control?" Aisha's eyes glanced at the beaten men. "Yes, they're not getting up anytime soon." As distant sirens began to wail, a sense of justice edged closer, and the dark road shimmered with flashes of red and blue light. Isn't it amazing how justice arrives on time? Before long, several police cars screeched to a halt. Officers emerged, guns drawn, ready for a fierce standoff. Instead, they found Aisha standing coolly by the fallen criminals, arms folded as if she were waiting for a friend. One officer, Sergeant Reynolds, instantly recognized her and asked, "Collins, what happened here?" With a casual shrug, she replied, "These 3 geniuses thought they could jump me." She even gave Travis's limp body a nudge with her boot, a silent remark on their miscalculation. A young recruit stared in awe, whispering, "You took them down all by yourself." Aisha arched an eyebrow and said, "Could have been quicker if there were 5. As the officers began cuffing the subdued men, the air still buzzed with tension. Will anyone ever underestimate her again? Just then, Travis stirred, groaning and spitting blood as he rasped, "You don't know who you're messing with, I'll find you." Leaning over him with a cool, measured look, Aisha murmured, "You already did, and see where it got you." His eyes flashed with anger, but no more words came out as the officers hauled him up. Sergeant Reynolds patted her on the back and suggested, "Maybe you should think about joining the force, we could use someone like you." Laughing lightly, Aisha replied, "I like doing things my way, no endless paperwork for me." With that, she turned toward her car, ready to leave the night's chaos behind, though a nagging echo of Travis's threat lingered in her mind. Could one threat really fade into the night? A week later, though the brutal encounter had faded into memory, a quiet unease still clung to her. One late evening, as she unlocked her apartment door, she noticed it was just a bit open, an unusual sight. Her pulse steadied as she silently reached for the small pistol tucked in her waistband. Moving like a ghost in the dark, she stepped inside her silent living room. The only light came from the distant glow of the city skyline, which cast eerie shadows and revealed a lone figure near the kitchen. Was this the calm before another storm? There, half hidden in the dim light, stood Travis once again. His face was swollen from their last brutal clash, and his eyes burned with a raw desire for revenge. He sneered, gripping a knife tightly, "I told you I'd find you." His voice dripped with malice, as if every word was a promise of more pain. Aisha's eyes never faltered. "You're making a big mistake, Travis." "You really think you're tough?" she challenged, her tone light yet laced with warning. In an instant, he lunged, but she was faster. With a swift sidestep, she twisted his wrist, sending the knife clattering across the room. In one smooth motion, she slammed him against the wall, her forearm pressing down firmly on his throat. "You broke out of prison just to get beaten again," she whispered, her words slicing through the tension. Travis clawed at her grip, but she spun him around and locked his arms behind his back with a single, decisive move. Can anyone escape the consequences of their choices? Without a moment's hesitation, Aisha grabbed her phone once more and called Sergeant Reynolds. "Guess who's here for round 2, she said coolly. Within minutes, sirens blared as police forces stormed in. She released Travis and stepped back as the officers took him into custody. Sergeant Reynolds shook his head and murmured, "Some people just never learn." Finally, as Aisha exhaled a long, steady breath, she realized the truth. While some enemies may keep coming back, she never backed down. And as the echoes of the night faded away, one thought lingered: what new challenge would tomorrow bring?